Hi there, this is Snacks and Stacks, and welcome to my January wrap up. I like to talk about books, TV shows, and movies. And if you've been here, thank you so much. If you like the way I used to do wrap ups, please let me know. But in my usual cadence of trying new things, I have a new format. I have a new format for my YouTube wrap ups because I miss talking about TV shows and movies. However, when I talk about all my books or too many books, then it takes up too much time and then editing becomes a nightmare. Not because I hate editing, but because I just don't have enough time in the day to do everything I would like to do. And so, yes, we are doing wrap ups a little bit differently. Got my notes over here. We're going to do stats, how my challenges are going, and then I'm going to highlight probably 3 books, either 3 favorites, maybe it's 2 faves, 1 that really missed, but 3 books that I felt are most impressionable. I will talk about my TV shows that I've been watching and the movies that I've been watching and like a brief little thing about them. So I hope you're cool with this. Let me try this for a couple months and see if it works for me. Let's go a little bit closer now so we can chat. So, okay, January was a little rough there. It always feels very long, but it's always very busy. And so I read 6 books, like novels, and 3 manga, so 9 total reads. And I gave 1 4.5 star, 6 4 stars, and 2 3.5 stars. And if you want more detailed like reviews about any of my books, please follow me on Instagram. I post mini reviews there. And yes, if you follow me on either Goodreads or Storygraph, I also post written reviews there that are very similar because they are my notes for how I talk to you guys. And I watched 3 TV shows and 4 movies. And so how are my reading challenges going? My challenge of reading 100 books, I am 9% there. That is probably the best thing about choosing 100 books. And Goodreads says I am on track. So for my 26 for 2026, I have read 2 of those, so I feel pretty good about that as well. And for my anti-brain rot challenge, where I have to annotate for 15 minutes every day at least, and then I have like a bunch of prompts that I'm going to try to fulfill. I have fulfilled the graphic novel prompt, the romance prompt, the fantasy prompt, the literary fiction prompt, the South Asian author who is not Indian prompt, as well as the Indigenous Native American author prompt. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. I haven't really read an article. Oops, I was supposed to read one last month. And then as far as reading 1 book that's by a BIPOC author, every white author, I have read 6 out of 9 books, especially since I read manga. I count manga as BIPOC authors because they're Japanese. Yeah, so far so good there. As far as annotating goes, I've noticed that I like reading on my Kindle actually the most for annotations because I am a little bit of a chaotic, organized person. And because of that, my tendency to have a pen and tabs near me are a little bit not always the case. Even if I put it with the book, I'd be reading and my all bundled up and then I can't find my stuff. I also am still pretty hesitant to mark up my books as much as I want. It's like a bit of a pause, and I find it takes away the joy of reading a little bit. Whereas annotating on my Kindle has been a lot easier. You just highlight. I sometimes will easily type in notes. I still don't really love it as it is. Sometimes the highlighting doesn't quite highlight the words I chose, and then I have to go back. It's not the best experience, but it is a new experience, so I'm just giving myself a bit of a learning curve there. Mostly I like the Kindle because it's all in one place. So I want to try to find one of those slips that I've seen where people have the tabs and the pen and they just put it on the book, and that might help. But I do love reading paperback, and so that might not help because it's a paperback book. I also get very distraught. Distraught is such a strong word. When I run out of a certain color of tabs that I'm using to notate as something, so I have one tab in this book that is a different blue than the other blue tabs, and it actually bothers me a little bit more than it really should, but it does. So there is that. So that's how annotating has been so far. I have missed 2 days because I was either sick or I had social plans and I wasn't able to sit down and annotate because I was reading a physical book at the time and I wasn't reading anything on my ebook. So having something that I'm constantly reading on my ebook also helps with the annotating checkbox there, but I'm not mad about it. I mean, 2 out of 31 days not doing it is pretty little. So yes, that is my overall challenge update. Sorry if that was a little chaotic. And now we're gonna go to my 3 impressionable reads. All of these were fantastic reads. So we're going with good vibes this wrap up. My favorite book of the month would have to be The Swan's Daughter by Roshni Chokshi. This is about Demelza, who was born a Veritas swan. These are swans that can turn into people. And she was born without wings, so she could not turn into a swan. And she is in a very tragic but loving family dynamic. And I say that with a big question mark, as her father, as it says in the book, her father is a good father, but he is not a good man. And she has been forced into hiding. The only way to survive is for her to enter this kind of bachelor type competition for Prince Aris's hand and heart. Prince Aris has always known that his marriage would most likely end in murder, and his own murder, as it's thanks to this poorly worded wish of his ancestor. Which of these contestants will keep his heart safe and literally in his chest? So in this world where people die, they actually turn into trees. And yeah, so that kind of gives you a hint as to the type of magic in this world. I love books that explore both the wonderfulness of magic and the dangers of magic. I found this to be so creative, and I loved the fairy tale tropes and aspects that the author chose to embed in this story. I loved the characters. They were all very interesting and, almost to a point where some of them felt a little bit of a caricature. Like, I don't have the book physically. I'm pretty sure Prince Aris's sister is named Evil, and that felt a little bit like too on the nose for me. She wasn't actually like an evil, like she's not a villain, but her whole persona is like goth and mean and yeah, all this. Anyways, I just found that as tragic as the story was, it was balanced so well with the humor in it and how much it kind of was not afraid to make fun of itself. If that was not the point, then I'm so sorry, but that's how I saw it. I thought that the magic was just, like I said, I love when it can be light and airy and beautiful and wonderful, but at the same time so evil and dangerous, and it's cruel. It was a cruel world to be in. There was people after his life, and so both of the main characters I found very likable. They are a bit of a caricature, but I like that in a fairy tale. I think that it's a place where it works, and it works really well. This is a YA fantasy, so there is a romance in here, but I think the romance is based so much on this foundation of friendship that I found to be very lovely. We basically find that Demelza and Prince Aris comes to a sort of like working relationship. She's kind of like, I'm gonna help you figure out which one of these contestants are lying to you. And so yeah, they work together. They play stereotypical roles in a fairy tale, but they also had such unique characteristics about them that help them to stand out and be their own. I love the themes of love and the pursuit of immortality, power, human connection, and possession is also a big one. Like, when is love love, and when is love like this want to possess something or someone, and therefore, like, how does that work within your relationship? Yeah, I thought the game show dating competition really set the tone for this kind of fairy tale. I really love Roshni Chokshini's writing. Like, I find her writing style to be so descriptive. I can see everything she wants us to see, even as a person who normally doesn't imagine things as it's written on the page. It was my favorite book this month. The reason why it's not a 5-star book was because of little things like naming someone evil, and little things like some of the parts were a little bit miscommunicated and just like could have been solved differently. And I think I would have just really liked if there was a bit more chemistry between our main characters. The next book that I want to talk about that made an impression would be Love is a War Song by Danica Nava. This is about Avery Fox. She is a Native American pop star, and she made the mistake of wearing a war bonnet on the Rolling Stones cover, which caused a lot of controversy and basically her being canceled on social media. Her mother is her manager, and her mother decides to send her to her grandmother's ranch, where she can kind of go into hiding. Even though her mother and grandmother no longer speak to one another, she knows that it's the safest place for Avery. Avery finds this as a chance to get to know her Native American heritage. Because her mom and grandma doesn't talk to each other, she has kind of missed out on learning more about being a Native American and her kind of like tribe in her past. When she gets there, she meets Lucas. Lucas is one of the ranch hands, and I say Lucas because this is a romance novel. So he is the male lead, and he hates Avery from like the get-go. He does not like her music. He thinks she's just like very shallow. He's not interested. Even though you find out later he thought she was gorgeous. And of course, he's super hot. So we have this guy who's very sweet. He has a good backstory to him. He's interesting. He ends up helping Avery learn more about being Native due to like this weird little bump in that happens later on the book. So I don't want to tell you too much about it, but they kind of have this deal going on. So I thought this book was very cute. I started the Rebel Blue Ranch series, and I thought that was fine. I loved the horses and the ranch setting, but I thought the writing and the story was like mid. I thought the story was much better. The writing style isn't like, there's no purple prose. There's not very much going on. We're being told, like, things are being said versus being, shown to us. But I thought it was good. It was an easy audiobook to listen to. I can't seem to listen to audiobooks all the time phase. And so I thought, this is working. I'm understanding everything that is going in my ear hole, and that is great. I thought it was cute. I thought the tension was good. I liked the banter. I liked the setting of the horse farm. I loved the grandma. She was fun. I liked her experiencing her native culture without it feeling forced down our throat or her throat. It felt very natural. It felt very like modern day as well, especially because it had a lot of pop culture references that I know work for some people and really don't work for others. I'm in between. Like, I can handle one or two pop culture reference, but this book went a little bit too much. Like, there's just a little bit, like, I got a little ick from it. And I can't quite explain what it is. I think it's because when I think of the story, I'm like, oh, you're going to lose the timelessness of the story as you're mentioning things like TikTok. But yeah, I really liked Lucas. I liked him as a person, and I was rooting for them. My cons, my negatives. Why this only was 4 stars. I felt like there's some things unresolved, especially between Avery and her mom. I felt that Avery didn't have a great support system, and that really sucked for her. A lot of the secrecy seemed really shallow. I wanted more explanation on some of the things that she learned that Native Americans do or don't do. One especially was like whistling at night. He was just like, we don't whistle at night. And I was like, but why? Yeah, I wanted to see more of them flirting. You saw a lot of banter and them not liking each other. It kind of just flipped real quick. And like I said, the amount of pop culture references took me out a little bit, but that's pretty much it. So it was a very solid contemporary romance for me. It was a fun time and it was very cute. Another fun but not very cute time would be The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. This was a in-person book club read, but it was also a favorite of a coworker of mine. So I do think I would have gotten to it eventually because it is a book of letters. And I love me a book of letters. I also love that the main character, Sybil, was like 70 something years old. I liked that she lived a whole life and she's here reflecting on it and still trying to live her life at 70 something. Sybil is a character that I found delightful to read from, mostly because she reminded me of my husband's grandma, who I had a very close relationship with. And she was basically the only grandma that I had in my life, as both of my grandmothers passed away when I was either young or before I was even born. And so Sybil as a character reminding me of Ryan's grandma just made it so much more special and so interesting to then be in her head. The things I loved about Sybil was that even though she was very stubborn and even though she said things that were wrong, they were just plain wrong, she also was able to then take a step back and apologize for being wrong. And she was able to take a step back and try to go with the times a little bit. And so I really love that kind of ability of her to unlearn some of the things that I'm sure she grew up with, these biases, and then moved on. And you end up seeing a lot of friendships form and friendships continue from childhood. You learn a lot about her grief as I don't even know if it's a spoiler, so I won't say it, but as a person who's gone through life, and she is also divorced, and so you learn a lot about that and her relationship with her late husband and how it affects her relationship with her children, who are now grown and they have grandchildren. Another thing I really loved about this book and Sybil as a character is that her life is not about her children and grandchildren. She has such a full life. You know, she's like dating two men. She is in garden club. She is talking to customer service reps. She is helping a friend of a friend who, you know, became pen pal. Like, it's interesting to see how these letters, and she even writes letters to authors. So this just celebration of life and letters and the relationships that she was able to form with them. I found this book to be quite darling, very delightful at times and very sad at other times, and just like a very nice celebration of life, of books, and of letter writing. So as much as I have all these wonderful things to say about it, I give it 4 stars because I wanted more. I think there could have been more to the book. I wanted more responses from her friends because we get it a lot in the beginning. I don't like when I'm reading a book and then near the end I feel like the author is like giving up or getting tired, and I don't ever want to assume that of an author, but it's just, to me, I feel so unfulfilled as a reader, and that's why I bumped it down to 4 stars. I just wanted more letters from other people. I wanted more information. And I know it is a book that is written through just letters, and so we can only get so much, but I still just felt so unfulfilled, and to the point where I actually ended up not keeping my physical copy because even though I felt a lot of things for the character and for the book, I didn't love it enough to keep it. So I don't think it's a 5-star book. And it's not just because the cover is lame, but the cover is lame. The cover, there's so many better covers than just 2 birds. And I don't know enough about birds to know why they chose those birds, but yeah. So those were my top 3 impressionable books this month. Let me know if you have read any of them, if you like them, or if you hated them. Actually, would love to know that too. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Let's chat. All right, I completed 3 TV shows. I completed my rewatch of Full Metal Alchemist. This is a show about brothers and alchemy and da-da-da-da-da. I feel like I've talked about Full Metal Alchemist so much, especially because I read the whole manga series in December. So like you guys know about it, right? If not, check it out. Because I read the whole manga series, my husband and I decided to finish the anime rewatch, and so we did. It was fantastic. It was great. I like it a lot. I think it's probably part of my top 10 anime. I'm not sure. I think it's in my top 10, not my top 5, only because I love cozy anime more. But I will say it's one of my favorite animes from beginning to end. Like there's no part of the anime that I felt is like unnecessary, or like I don't like where it goes, or like it's too long. It's about 64 episodes, the whole series. Our whole family watched Sakamoto Days. This is an anime as well. All of these are animes. All the TV shows are anime. So if you don't like it, skip over to the movies where there's not as much anime. Sakamoto Days is an anime about an assassin who has fallen in love and therefore retired. And now he is a convenience store owner and he's quite overweight. He has a bounty on his head, and so he has to fight his way and try to protect his way of life, his new way of life. His partner, his ex-partner, was probably one of the first people to approach him and let him know this was happening. He is a clairvoyant, so he is able to read the minds of others for a short period of time, or a period of time. I'm not really sure if it's short or long. And he kind of just collects these people because he's a good person, and so there's a bit of found family in these episodes, and there's a lot of action. And what I love about this show is that it makes fun of itself a lot. It's very funny, it's outrageous, but it's like meant to be outrageous, and it's just a great time. I also love the use of color in Sakamoto Days. They're very bright, and it's like incorporated into his clothes, into the background, into the character designs. The animation style is quite nice. I don't find any of it to be odd or anything like that. I thought it was done very, very well. And so I think if you don't mind a little bit of gore and violence, Sakamoto Days is so much fun. I will say some of it is so like the story has been seen before, and so a lot of sometimes we would watch it and then come back the next day and be like, what happened? It didn't stand out a ton, but it is definitely a good story and good characters that you can like stand by. And the last anime that I watched was called Love Through a Prism. I watched all of season 1, which is 20 episodes. And I would like to do a separate video review about this show, as I wrote a lot about what I liked, what I thought was okay, and what I didn't like about Love Through a Prism. It is quite popular, I think, at least maybe because I searched it, so it's on my algorithm. But most people seem to really love it. It is a historical fiction romance back before World War I, like right before. And it's about a girl from Japan who goes to art school in England, makes friends, does art, and falls in love. There's more to it. It does get a little bit tragic near the end. In a way, it's dramatic. It's not tragic, dramatic in the end. And it was done well. I'm not on the hype train of it is the best romance anime out there, but it is good. And I will say that I think it's worth a watch if you love art, because a lot of the backgrounds and settings are absolutely gorgeous, and I love the friendships that are made And another thing that I really love about this anime is that the female friendships are not toxic and bad. They're genuinely like nice and beautiful friendships. I also started but haven't finished Ranking of Kings with my brother-in-law when he was here over the holidays, and then I kind of just stopped. So I need to get back into that because we wanted to watch season 2, but then realized we forgot everything in season 1. My husband and I have started watching the Bryden arc of Link Click. We are on episode 3 of 6. This is kind of like a prequel, but it's in the middle of seasons 2 and 3. I think we have to watch the Bryden arc before season 3 comes out later on this year. Okay, 4 movies, all different kinds. We have an action movie. We watched A Working Man. My husband's a big fan of Jason Statham, so we've watched a lot of his movies. This was not my favorite, but I'll tell you what it's about. It's about Jason Statham, playing as Jason Statham. He is a dad who has lost custody of his daughter because his wife is out of the picture. He works as a construction site foreman. He's well loved by the construction site owners who seem to be quite rich. Their daughter gets kidnapped, and he is asked to use his military background to find her and bring her home. The action scenes were great, but the whole story had so many plot holes and so many weird things happening. The characters were shallow, and the only character I really loved was, I don't remember her name anymore, Jenny, was the girl who got kidnapped. She holds her own as much as she can in the whole show, and I think that's quite a good change to these action movies. My husband seemed to think it was okay, so there's that. We did a rewatch of A Knight's Tale because we just wanted to watch something cozy and comfy, and we knew I love A Knight's Tale. It's probably one of my favorite movies of all time. It is becoming, every time I watch it, I like it more. I like that there's contemporary music in a medieval setting. I like the story of like hope and changing your stars. At first, really disliked the romance because it's such like a love at first sight romance. But the more I watch it, the more I'm like, you know what? They're cute. It's okay. I also watched People We Meet on Vacation, like the weekend it came out. I was very, very much wanting to watch that. I thought it was good. I will preface this by saying this is not my favorite Emily Henry book, so I didn't have high expectations of it. I thought the actors had great chemistry, great tension. I found that the story was fine. The way they did it was okay. I liked it. I just felt that it was very long, but yet it felt like it was lacking. So take that with what you may. I think for people who love rom-coms will really enjoy it. I just don't think they make them the same, or maybe I'm just too much of an adult to like them the same anymore, and so they just don't hit the same way. But that's how I kind of felt about it. And the last movie I watched is Joyride. It is an all-Asian cast, or nearly all-Asian cast. It was a comedy, and it's about a girl who was adopted, and she decides to go to China on a business trip and somehow gets talked into trying to find her birth mom. She goes on this trip with her best friend as her translator, but her best friend is like an artist and it's a friend from childhood, and another friend meets her up there. Anyways, it's like this interesting group of very different Asian women, and I thought it was like the idea of it was really fun. It was great. I love how out there it was, and I love that it exists for Asian women and for Asian characters and for this story and this movie to exist. I just found it incredibly uncomfortable as a person who doesn't like certain type of humor. I don't love sex, naked humor, very like crass humor. It's not my thing. If you like it, you will love this movie, but it just went places that I got a little uncomfortable about personally. But like I said, I love that this exists because I think that as an Asian woman, we get stereotyped into being a certain type of person, and this challenged all of that. So I love that it exists. It just isn't for me. So yeah, that would be everything I watched and read this month. This wrap-up style still took up 40 minutes of recording time, so we'll see if this lasts. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you made it till the end, could you put a cute little emoji in the comments just so I know you're here? Thank you so much. Tell me what your favorite thing or least favorite thing you watched or read this month. Happy binging, happy snacking, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.